know that we want to do 1-to-1 up at 9 through 12. So that's our plan here. That 1.4 million is already taken care of with that lease that we have. We spread that out. 1.5 is really the 1-to-1 up at the high school. And then we're still going to have to maintain our servers. We're going to have to maintain some other computers, whether they're the laptops for employees or so on and so forth. Our facilities. We know a couple years down the road we're going to have some roofs that may be done, windows. These things are always aging. We're always going to have to invest back in our buildings, back into this IT equipment, and then our vehicles and this other equipment. We have not really done anything with our vehicles. We've purchased maybe a few in the past couple of years, and then the equipment. Talking about the custodian coming in here with vacuums or redoing the floors. This equipment is 10, 15 years old. It's going to need to be replaced at some point in time. So as we can see here, we're looking long term. We're looking 5 years out minimum, where these are sizable dollars that we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do to save for these investments.
I have nothing more to say. That's your job to figure out.
No, part of that.
No, go back to that. Go back to that. The message is that, you know, we do have to, and I've heard the board ask, and I've heard in the public, you know, what's your plan? What's your vision? How are you going to fund these things? Well, we're starting to break it down and put it in a dollar figure for you to wrap your head around, because when we're talking about next year's budget, we're talking about just our operational costs, just the cost of teaching kids. It doesn't take this stuff into account. So as we're talking about a tax increase or not, and again, we go back to what we've been talking about, we can only raise revenue through tax increase. That's how we get our money. We're a wealthy district in the eyes of the state. So when it comes to budget time next year, we probably are going to be asking for, again, a small, incremental, consistent tax increase, because if we make money every year, it's got to go somewhere here, because that's what we have to do strategically for the next 5 years.
So part of this long-term plan is really looking at our debt, our bonds specifically and our debt. As you can see here, this is our upcoming year. This is what we have in the budget. But we, our payment following year, $900,000 decrease. What do we plan on doing with that? And you can see the payments as they go down here. And the best part about this is after 2027, debt-free in terms of bonds. The district will have no longer bond debt. But for the time being right here is we do plan on maintaining this $900,000 line item within our budget to put it aside for our facilities down the road. We've already have this budgeted for, but why not keep this, maintain it for whether it's the IT equipment, the facility upgrades that you might have to do down the road. It isn't adding anything else to the budget. It's just us saving and looking long term and how to use those funds. What have we been doing about our healthcare? Our healthcare is one of our top 3 costs in the district. Well, we're receiving more in premium share. With a teacher contract that's already settled, you have some agreements that we'll be reviewing today. We're receiving more in premium share. We also have adjusted deductibles. That should save money as well. We're starting a wellness plan. We spend about $3.5 million annually in preventable diseases. If this wellness plan can help us lower that cost a little bit, it's more savings for the district as we are self-funded. We created a spousal rule for most agreements. Therefore, if you're an employee and your spouse has the ability to get coverage elsewhere, they're going to need to do so. We've also been working with our TPA and negotiated more beneficial prescription drug rebates. That'll be about $150,000 annually. So we're continuing to look at our big ticketed cost items as well to try to not only look long term, but what can we do to help within our annual operating budgets. So that takes us to where do we think we're going to end this year? We do think we'll have about a $3 million surplus. But why $3 million? Well, half of that's already from the sale of Asbury Woods, the $1.5 million. We know, we've talked about the budget this upcoming year, and we were conservative in the budget. So you saw the different line items, but about $500,000, we received an additional state revenue that we did not expect. We also had our health insurance because of what I just stated back here. A lot of these moves that we've been making have been beneficial for us. We're seeing that our health insurance remained flat.
Go back to that real quick. And don't forget, last year and the year before, with the old board, we asked that board to make hard decisions with employees. ended up getting a lot of employees off of our healthcare program and cutting them back to half-time. We absorbed positions where people weren't getting the healthcare as part of their benefits and working for the district. So those decisions from 1 and 2 and 3 years ago are really now paying off because our costs are pretty much flatlined, which is pretty good.
We've adjusted staffing to align with our student population. So as you see here, and then anytime we can absorb a position, we're trying to do so. The district does look at everything, and then as I mentioned, we've made investments into our different types of softwares in these different areas where we're able to start to streamline processes that does in turn mean saving positions when we have the ability to do so. So let's take this and roll everything forward. I just told you about what we need to look at for the future, where we're going to end this year. Well, let's take where were we at the end of last year? We had an unassigned fund balance of about $4.8 million. We had a committed fund balance of about $38,000. And what that committed fund balance is, it represents replacing the turf, all extracurricular facilities. Those funds are committed to maintaining those because we did to give us a total fund balance of about $4.8 million. You add non-spendable, that would tie exactly to what's in the audit. So the additions for this year, and again, we could talk about chopping this up a number of different ways, but using this 1.7 million that we can take of that $3 million takes us to 7% of our total expenditures by the end of the year. 3 years ago, there was a negative $600,000, and within 3 years, you're at 7% of your total expenditures. The goal is to be at 8. $500,000 start already for those capital projects. We were talking about how we need to plan for those. Well, we can get a start here about $500,000. Are committed for all our extracurricular facilities. We actually approved a motion a month ago that says any revenue generated from these extracurricular events, whether it's gate receipts or participation fees, that's committed for the purpose of maintaining those extracurricular facilities. We're also engaging in a rather large advertising campaign that will be, according to policy, all allocated to maintaining our extracurricular facilities. So we do have a plan in place to try to maintain those facilities without trying to go back to the tax dollars in order to do so. And then our assign. We can assign, whether it is we want to assign money here for PSERS, healthcare costs, IT costs down the road. We have this money here as we do need to start planning long term for those areas as well. That takes us about $3.5 million for this year, gives us a total fund balance of about $8.3 million at the end of this year. But we also know that we have a lot of one-time purchases, or one-time events, I should say, not purchases. So in Vernondale, you could choose wherever area you really wanted to put this, but that takes us to pretty much the 8% fund balance that you would need at the end of the next year. Capital projects with Ridgefield, we're already at $1.4 million. We know that Wegmans, that appeal is sitting in the courts currently, roughly $700,000. So gets us to be about $10.8 million long term with these one-time events. That's critical, I think, to point out here. These are one-time events that should not impact our annual operational budget, but really for what we need to plan long-term with our facilities or our IT equipment.
That was something we just talked about in executive session. That's what I said to the board, and I want to reiterate to the public. The Vernondale, the Ridgefield, and the Wegmans sales, or whatever you want to call it, when that money comes in, that money is going somewhere. We don't use that for our operating budget year to year. It's either going to go to, as we're showing here, let's say we sell Vernondale. We're going to take that and put it in the fund balance to get us to where we need to be. If Ridgefield sells, we're thinking we'll put that in capital projects, and if Wegmans sells, or the Wegmans appeal comes through, we would put that in an assigned fund balance. But we are not using that for an operational, as a part of operational costs from year to year. So we need to separate those out in everybody's mind, because your budget from year to year is still your budget. And these things, as Aaron said, are just one-time influxes of money that we need to stash for a rainy day.
Mr. Hall, will that, all those funds, monies, will that be kept in a restricted account?
Correct. That assigned as, yeah, according to our policy, they'll be exactly